Becoming you beyond deconstruction, because deconstruction isn't the end goal. Living a vibrant, soul-aligned life is. Welcome back to Becoming You Beyond Deconstruction. Today we're going back into the Becoming series and we're talking to coach, clinical supervisor and shamanic practitioner Rebecca Hartnell. Rebecca Hartnell is a powerful alchemist and coach who works with the divine feminine, and although our conversation isn't specifically on deconstruction, we're going a bit wider into the whole idea of deconditioning and what that means. And the reason why is because whether you are currently within Christianity or whether you've come out of Christianity and you're deconstructing, you have definitely been impacted by the Christianized worldview, the Christianized culture and society that we live in. So there is an aspect of deconditioning that we all have to go through, despite or in spite of whether we are still within Christianity have come out of Christianity and are practicing something else, or wherever we may fall on the path. So I'm really excited to go into today's episode with you, and I know that you're going to find something juicy and powerful to help you. If you want to connect with Rebecca, you can do so via the links on today's episode notes. But for now, I will see you on the inside. Okay, so I am super excited about this interview. I've got the amazing Rebecca Hartnell on the other side. She is also based in the UK, and that's lovely for me because I get to speak to somebody else who, has a shared experience with me based around life in the UK. So, Rebecca, it's lovely to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. And to introduce a little bit about what I do, I am the founder of two organizations. I'm the Demon Career Coach, so I've been doing that for 12 years. I'm also the CEO of an organization called the Divine Feminine Wealth. So I am now working with the Divine Feminine in an energetic way and bringing that to humans and business, because we all need to restore that balance within us.
Yeah. So I love what you do, and I connected with you via LinkedIn, and I am always so blown away and touched by the things that you share, and they really resonate quite deeply with me. And just before we started recording, I spoke about the fact that I realized or somehow found out that you are a shamanic practitioner, and how that made me feel as somebody who has been born and raised within the Christian faith. And there was definitely a bit of trepidation on my side because, it's scary and all the things that we're told are wrong and, bad about the world. But then on the flip side, I saw all the amazing content and, your heart, your energy and the work that you do. And it was one of the things I was like, actually, something's not quite right in this formula, in this equation here, because what you do resonates so much with who I am and, what I'm about and the values that I hold and what I'm trying to do in the world. So can you tell us a little bit about, let's just get this bit out of the way, this whole shamanic aspect and what that is about, because it also has led you to some groovy places and, doing some amazing things. Yeah. So can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, certainly. Thank you. If I told you I ended up doing shamanism by mistake, that would be absolutely true. What also might be really useful in a contextual way is to look at this in up till about 700 years ago in this country and in Northern Europe, vicars and priests and all of them, people in the church, did work quite closely with shamans. So because they knew there were different bodies of work and they knew that they could collaborate on it. So it wasn't really until the Reformation and all those times where there were the witch wounds created and all that kind of stuff that made our lives quite toxic and still do for women, particularly today. That, they collaborated. There wasn't either one. It was both. So shamanism in my world, I guess I have, I'll go back to the beginning. When I was 26, I got clean and sober. And I was told if I didn't get God, I would relapse and die. And that was a tricky one for me because I was brought up a heathen in a Christian society, but I didn't know how to reconcile that. And the first sense I got of a sense of a power greater than myself was with my back against a tree. There are 3 lime trees still in Whitehall where I used to live. And I suddenly thought, it's not me who makes this tree grow. Okay, there's got to be something bigger than me. I don't come and water this tree every day. I didn't plant it. There's a bigger system. So nature became my God, if you like. It's like whatever I do, nature is still doing its thing, whether I'm in a good mood or a bad mood. And from that, I moved into paganism and, was quite lone. Suddenly I went through this portal of applying to do a 3-year shamanic practitioner training. And the amazing bit about it, but the bit that maybe terrifies people too, is that it's direct revelation with spirit. So literally using a drumming bait and getting into a meditative space, I can contact the spirit allies. They contact me and tell me what they feel I should know. I can ask them as questions. The union between us is because they have the wisdom and I have the body. So they can't do anything. They can't action anything. They're sitting watching us going, hey, you need to do something different, or we learned that lesson centuries ago, or they're outside of time and space. So my job is to hear, along with all the other shamanic practitioners that I'm training with, is to hear and to enable balance to be restored. We're putting things back in their rightful places.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's something that we definitely need now. There is so much going on in the world, and I know that people are trying to get back to that wisdom, but it's hard to do it just through textbooks and history books because it's a biased account, it's a biased story, and we're filling in the pieces as best as we can. So having that ancestral wisdom, ancestral knowledge, I reckon would be really useful, actually. So.
It's an extraordinary privilege, and in some ways it suits my personality. I'm the daughter of a head teacher, so I'm 100% allergic to authority. So if somebody tells me to do something, I will do the opposite whether I wanted to do it or not. When spirit tells me to do it, I kind of feel like I take it a little bit more seriously.
Yeah.
What I have recognized, I think, throughout my life is that politicians, people in authority, the patriarchy, all sorts of things, a few of them have all had agendas. And we have been divided and ruled. We have been played. We have been manipulated. We are manipulated by consumerism right now. We are manipulated by social media. And actually, if I go and meet one of my spirit allies with whom I've got a relationship, they're not only going to tell me truth because they haven't got any agenda other than, being themselves and being wise, but they cut through all that stuff. But equally, the other side of it is they're outside of time and space. So where humans can only do the next iteration of something, they go, well, that didn't work, so we'll one better it. I can get the most innovative responses to something because it's outside of time and space. It might come from the future or it might come from the past, but it fits what's needed. So I think a lot of what I'm doing actually is bringing the past forward to the present in order that we can design our future as well. Because we've been cut off from that old wisdom. All the politics, all the monetary agenda, everybody's power agendas. We've been told to set it down really clearly, and so it's my job to bring it back, and challenge that.
Okay, so fantastic. Thank you for clarifying that. So you've touched a little bit about your background. So you've touched upon the fact that you were brought up, in your own words, in a heathen family. You had experience of, is it alcohol or drugs?
And drug addiction. I did a decade really well. Yeah. Yeah.
And because of that experience, it led you, or somebody basically told you, you know, find God or die. And that led you to finding God in nature.
Yeah.
And then, you know, this journey towards shamanism and becoming a shamanic practitioner. So I'm really interested in knowing about how this has impacted your healing and your return into self journey, because obviously this is kind of the focus of this series that I'm doing. So if we can talk about that a little bit.
Okay, that's interesting, because that question has just triggered me to go into a completely different direction to the one that I was intending to bring. So thank you, and bear with me. My healing journey, as I say, started 24 years ago, and I literally thought, 3 months of rehab and I'd be cured. And I'm still asking all the questions, and I'm still doing the healing work. And some of that does come through the coaching work that I do, or the supervision work that I do, because my clients bring me exactly what I need to be working with too. So that gets put well behind my ear until the session's over, and I'm like, oh, apply to self, which is useful to know. So that's very live. But what shamanism has brought to my healing, I am going to be very honest now. So I got into recovery when I was 26. I thought I'd be cured 3 months later. I started to build a really good life. And by the age of 30, I had a massive nervous breakdown. By the age of 30, I was homeless. I was suicidal. I got locked up in a psychiatric unit. And then I threw myself under a lorry, because the psychiatrist, he literally looked at me and said, well, you speak very well. I can't really see what the problem was. Wow. I weighed 6 stone at this point. So I tried very seriously to take my life, and I guess I'm here for a reason, because as my psychiatrist said, another psychiatrist, he said, most people don't come back from where you've come from. So my healing journey continues, and I recognize now that breakdown was around this life healing. It was around the psychological harms, wounds that had happened in my early life, and making sense of that. And having been through that, it makes me a very big coach. Do you know what I mean? I'm not much of what people say floors me in a session these days. May not fall within my remit. I'm good at signposting, but I'm not going to fall apart if anybody brings me anything. And people bring big things. But the work that's happened in the pandemic, and since I began to train as a shamanic practitioner, so I've been on this path for over 3 years now, is what's happening is the ancestral work and the past life work is coming up. So I am able, or have been able, through connecting with the spirit allies, to surface the wounds, particularly the witch wounds around me, the hangings, the burnings, the stakes, the betrayals, and those stories, and then go back and do the healing work shamanically on those creatures, on those individuals that got really harmed. And then this is going to sound really bonkers. They are then showing up to write my business. So I showed up to go, okay, what does the divine feminine really look like? And they showed up through my email, because I write my books on my phone. And they said, thank you for showing up. We've been waiting for centuries. It was like, oh, I didn't expect that as a first sentence. And they said, as a result, we will then share what we know with you. We will share our wisdom so you can design your business. So thank you. As a gratitude, this is what we're doing. So my contract with them is that I show up every day and listen to what they have to say. And that's bonkers in my head. In my rational head teacher head, it's like, that doesn't make any sense. However, it's powerful.
Do you know what? I can totally understand that. And yes, a part of me is like going, okay, what is this crazy lady talking about?
I'm good at that. I see it in me. Yeah.
But then another part of me that is not contained within the structure, thinks, actually, that makes sense. I can kind of see how that is. And it brings the question, is this available to all of us?
Yes, absolutely. And this is what we've been told, that only certain people are spiritual enough to access this stuff. And actually, everybody has the ability to contact spirit.
Yeah.
So it's been made exclusive, and actually there are a variety of ways of doing it. There's plant medicine. I don't mess about with that very much, but you can use literally cacao and chocolate, you can use ritual, you can use drumming beats, but we all have the ability to connect with spirit, and that returns our power to us. And I don't think there's a lot of people who wanted us to be powerful, or there are certain people who didn't want us to be empowered. And it's not about power over, it's about being power filled. And sovereign and making our own decisions. And people haven't really wanted that for us, because there's nothing more frightening than a bunch of fully empowered, knowledgeable, wise people wandering around in the world making their own decisions if you want to exploit them and make money out of them.
Yes, that's a big yes right there. And there's so much that I feel like I want to talk about in relation to that. But before I go there, let's talk about the divine feminine. Let's talk about that. Can you tell me a little bit about what that means? Because, this is a term that is becoming really popular at the moment within the coaching world. So I feel like maybe it's good that we just come up with a foundation, or you tell me what it means to you, so I know what we're talking about when we're talking about the divine feminine.
Yeah, no, that's great. I wrote 115,000 words of book, and it started off as me sharing my coaching process, and then I hired a writing coach who went, there's a little bit of anger in this book, you might want to tell some of the stories around it. And I realized that all the anger and a lot of the wounds in my life, and that I was seeing it particularly in career coaching women, that it's literally not a level playing field. It's like one of my clients said about a year ago, said it's like we did feminism, we did feminism 60 years ago, and nothing has changed. And it's like that really lands with me. So there was a fair amount of crossness in the book and wounds. So I went away and wrote the stories to illustrate that. And then the title of the book landed, and the title of the book was just gifted to me out of nowhere. And the title of the book was called The Divine Feminine at Work, because it was about career coaching. And as it landed, I went, oh, and then I went, oh my God, that is really big. I'm now working with the divine feminine at work. So I have now spent 2 years living the divine feminine, and recognizing how we have been thrown into toxic masculinity, that women are supposed to be masculine in order to achieve, that we have to deliver all the time, that the corporate is all about deliver. There's nothing of the feminine in any of that. It's all about the masculine. And the masculine is a beautiful thing. Nothing would happen without the masculine. But you can't action masculine well without brilliant planning beforehand, and without great celebration afterwards. So it's all those bits around between. It's the invisible work which lead to the great actions and the great decisions in the first place. And I have been really made to live this. And so as soon as the book title landed, I began to upscale. It became a really big thing. I was going to Rome to do talks for the UN. It was like I was really on one. And actually, I burned right out because I was doing it in a masculine way. So I was taking the divine feminine out into the world in a really masculine way, and it wasn't sustainable. So what we've got is we need the sacred union. We need the sacred union between the divine feminine and the divine masculine in every human being and every business. It's not about gender. It's about a way of being that makes it sustainable. And we have been out of balance for a couple of thousand years right now. And our planet is really beginning to show, we keep taking and taking and taking and taking, and we're not in relationship with our planet, with ourselves, with our bodies. We don't listen to ourselves, and so we're not making wise decisions.
So there seems to be some threads in this. So you've mentioned about listening, and you've mentioned about the invisible around the actions, and you've mentioned about being in harmony and connecting to self, connecting to nature. And what does all of this have to do? I'm bringing it back again to becoming who we really are, that authenticity piece, that returning to self. So
that journey back to self, all human beings, male and female, or in between, however people wish to describe themselves these days. We all need feminine and masculine energies. And so the masculine is about the actioning.
Yeah.
Feminine energies are the receiving, the listening, which if we don't stop long enough to even listen to what our bodies are saying. So my body can be telling me I'm really exhausted and I'll just push on through. My body can tell me that I'm hungry, angry, lonely, tired, and I will push on through. And if we don't listen to these wisdoms in our body, if we don't surface those into awareness, and if we don't then collaborate and mobilize well and look through everybody's perspective, then we make really misinformed decisions. And what's happening is we're just missing all of this cycle, this whole cycle, especially the fertile void. And you'll recognize that from Gestalt probably, which is where the magic is. The fertile void is where we don't know. We're able to sit in a place of saying, I don't know what the solution is. I don't know what the answer is, which is right where I am now. And it's right where a lot of clients are. They're going, I used to be that, and I'm not that anymore, but I don't know what I'm becoming.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're seeing it, but I'm seeing it everywhere. And we have to sit with that discomfort, because we're used to being able to box ourselves. But if we box ourselves too early, we miss the magic and the opportunities.
Yeah, that is so powerful right there, because I've definitely felt it. And motherhood moves you into that place, because, you're one person and then you birth a human being and they become very dependent on you. So your beingness changes automatically, because you've got somebody who needs you in a totally brand new way. Everything that you were before, you can't be that person, especially not in the practical way that you were being that person before. And there is a kind of struggle, a tension, a grieving that you're not prepared for, but yet you have to go through. And I have spoken about this with you. I mean, I see you go in on your wild adventures. I'm like, oh my gosh, I really want to go on a wild adventure. But obviously I know I'm not in that season right now, and I get so much joy from being a mother. But it's recognizing that there's a lot of stuff going on in this space for me, and it's a really powerful and healing space, this area of not knowing. But as you say, when we try to kind of jump into the next stage, because society and the world teaches us that we are only useful if we know that knowing space, because if we know, then we can take action.
Yes, and then we can prove, and then we can deliver, and then we are valid, and then we have a rationale for being here, and then we're maybe earning money, or we're proving something, and that not knowing is sitting with it is very profound at the moment, because as a result of the pandemic, and I'm going to sound woo now, so tolerate me, the pandemic has happened for a reason. The pandemic has happened to slow us all down, and then everybody's gone, what are we doing? We really have had time to reflect, and those questions are really pivotal, to not close those down too quickly, to go, I still don't know what I'm doing. It's all right. I don't know what I'm doing. I've got a roof over my head. I don't know what I'm doing. That was not the answer I was allowed to give as a head teacher's daughter. If I was asked a question, I had to give an answer. In fact, my friend in my art group, who I've known for 25 years now, she's very gentle, is Sharon. And every now and again, somebody will ask a question and I'll come up with an answer, and Sharon will just look me gently in the eye and go, is that true? And I'm forced to go, I just made that up. Because my Pavlov programming is to come up with an answer. So right now I have totally closed the doors to Demon. I don't even know if I'm a coach anymore. I'm a great coach, but that's not the whole of my identity anymore. I'm like, I've done that for 12 years. I adored it. I don't know what's coming next. Something very big is coming next around the divine feminine. I don't know what it is. And I have no idea how I'm going to monetize it or justify it to the world. I just have to sit with it. Now that's comfortable, not?
No, totally. I get what you're saying, but actually what I am getting back is that you're making space, you're creating space. You've allowed whatever is coming to come. It goes, oh yeah, there's a spot for me right there. Whereas if we continue on with the programming and the reactivity, we just feel like we need to fill up every inch of space that we've got with performance, with action. And as you're saying, that's that divine masculine energy without stopping, that reflective, that listening piece that you were talking about before, without stopping to connect to what's going on inside us. Is this really really what I want to do and what I feel called to do?
Or are there layers of shoulds, or am I hurrying it, or am I trying to make the birth go too fast? And the first time, I mean, I'm going to turn 50 in a couple of month probably. Amazing I've made it this far, really. And it's the first time in my life where I've been comfortable to go, I don't know where my money's coming from. I don't know how I'm going to earn. I don't know how I'm going to show up professionally. So I just keep showing up as me, and that seems to be well received on LinkedIn and various places. So and what's extraordinary in this place is me going, I don't know, is about 10 people in the last 2 months have come to me and said, I want to go into business with you. And I'm like, well, that's interesting, because I don't even know what my business is right now. So I've got a list of 10 people going, well, come back to me in the autumn, I might have a clearer idea. But I don't think I've ever done that. I've always, particularly as a woman, if somebody's come to me, then I will try and make something work. And it's like, well, I think you're great. I mean, one man's turned up and he's French and he's young and he's more divinely feminine, way more divinely feminine than I am. And he will be great at marketing the divine feminine. But I don't know what he's marketing right at. It's like, okay, stay on board if you want. Can't imagine anybody nicer doing this work for me, or with me, or together in some way. But I don't know what it looks like right now. So we'll have to have a conversation in the autumn, and that's the first time in my life I think I've gone, yeah, you're great, but just wait.
And I just, that's a big one. And I just feel like, okay, so I'm bringing it back to the context of faith and spirituality and being who you are, because, one of the things that you mentioned is that you don't know, and the only thing that you can do is be you and show up as you. And so many people find that difficult. Who am I? Again, it goes back to the who am I, needing to know the answers. And when I'm not being me, so who am I showing up as? And then I'm thinking about, so in my deconstruction journey and the journey of deconstruction that I've witnessed in other people around the not knowing. So I don't believe in the way that I used to, and the way that I used to provided me with answers that I kind of knew, and they were kind of maybe conditioned into me or whatever, but I believed them to the ability that I believed them. And now, because I don't believe, I don't know. So this is a very uncomfortable place for me. I don't know how to be in this space. What might you say to them, as from your wisdom as a shamanic practitioner, or even thinking about the divine feminine, or any aspect that you want to talk into this?
I think I would still go back to the body. I would we're cyclical beings, and we're seasonal, we're cyclical, menstrual cycles, 24 hours, the 13 moons, the year, all creatures are cyclical. And the first point of awareness, the first point is the sensation in our bodies. And if we can sit with the sensation in our bodies, I think there is great wisdom in that, because as humans, then we can begin to surface those into words. When we surface those into words in an awareness, then we can begin to get to the next bit of the journey of going, okay, so what do we need? What do we need to do? And it's not necessarily what do I need to do? It's that collaborative piece. What do we need? And what are you seeing? And let's share all our perspectives. But I think it starts right in the body. Or even earlier than that, it might start in the fertile void where you were asking spirit. But as a human being, I used to see myself as a body carrying, a spirit carrying around a body. Now my body is a vehicle that deserves a huge amount of respect, because whilst I'm a spirit, and my spirit has ever such a big presence, it's my body that I have to honor, that carries the spirit around in the world. And so the more I can listen to my body, my body's like my interaction with the world. It's like, what am I feeling? What do I feel about that energetic connection? You and I have shown up on Zoom. We've never spoken before together, but we know there's a connection between us. And what we've really learned in these times, I've met people in person from all over the world after the pandemic. And and they are the people that they say they will be. And that's extraordinary over a series of what is you and I are working through is a series of noughts and ones.
Yeah.
So, but that energy translates bonkers, you know, but true, that energetic connection, we can really trust it. So it's our bodies and it's our spirits, and those are the place to start, you know, and saying, being willing to say, I don't know, something doesn't feel right. A language reflects it, you know, something smells off, you know, it doesn't look right. We've got all the words around it, but somehow we're not connecting to it. And so it starts with the body. And I'm just going to get a bit political now, so bear with me. Not as far as the Tories are concerned, we'll leave them out. But I think we have been separated from our sovereignty in that every time we have an uncomfortable feeling in our bodies or in our emotions or in our energetic field, we're encouraged to buy something. We're encouraged to get on social media. We're encouraged to consume something in some way. We eat or we drink or we do anything to quick fix it.
Yeah.
And the more we can sit with it and not pick up the phone, not kind of resort to any of those things which count as addictions when it comes down to it, because we're playing with our mental well-being and our brain chemistry. The more we can resist that and just take a couple of minutes and go, what is that? What is that feels weird? Then we're accessing our own wisdom. We have it. We've been misdirected.
Yeah, there was an interesting reference in Eckhart Tolle's book. I'm never quite sure how to say his surname.
Sounds great.
Okay. The Power of Now. And he said something like, transformation happens through the body.
Yeah.
And I thought, yeah, that's it.
And it's not through this. We're encouraged to use this. This is just a set of tools that we carry around with us that can action what the spirit and the body want.
Just for reference, Rebecca is pointing to the head.
Oh, that helps. Yes, I'm all visual. So our brain, it's a great piece of equipment, but equally we need to use it rather than it use us. And actually it's our body and our spirit that has the wisdom, and then we can ask our brain to make whatever it is happen. That's been an ongoing battle of mine. I can play mental ping pong in my head for hours over whether I should or I shouldn't do something, but it's my body that will tell me whether it's for me or not.
And I think an added piece is learning to trust that.
Yes, because we've been taught to distrust it. And we've been heavily influenced to distrust it. I was in London yesterday and I went to the Divine Feminine exhibition, or the Demonic to Divine, at the British Museum. And there was a book there written about the exhibition. Now, the exhibition really stimulated some interesting things in me because it didn't really bring a very radical view. It brought a very colonialized view, which I was horrified about. It missed a trick. So I picked up the book because I like Mary Beard, who'd written the introduction. She's quite radical. Do I need to buy this book? And I did some kinesiology on myself. I muscle tested on it. Do I, is it in my highest and best good to have this? No, let it go. All right, well, that's 25 quid that it spared me and time reading that I don't really have. So learning to trust that my body will tell me whether I do or whether I don't need a foodstuff or a book or some information or to spend some time with somebody. It's like we've been severed from that a long time ago. My body absolutely knows.
And that is so powerful. I mean, you're absolutely right. How powerful is it to be able to just take a breath and just check in with yourself and see, actually, does this sit right with me? Does this feel, as you said, in my highest and best interest? If we were to do that on repeat through the day, imagine over the course of a year how different our life could be.
Even if it changed it 1 degree, we'd end up in a completely different place.
Absolutely. That's a really powerful thing to sit with. And I absolutely agree that it's in the best interest of those in power, authority, to keep you out of your own wisdom and to keep you reliant and dependent on them to tell you what to do. I think we only have to look at, in the UK, in this country, where we've kind of given away our power on, especially in the political arena. I know that it happens across the world, but to the extent that we now lack social responsibility, I feel like that's a big thing. When you take away somebody's power, you make them a child. You
Yes.
make them dependent on you. So they don't have to worry about the consequence anymore of their actions or their behavior. Somebody else is going to deal with that. It's their decision, their responsibility.
Yes. And how can we possibly design our worlds and our futures and our own lives if we're in child? And, how can we design it well? And we have this access to this incredible wisdom. I look at what the fertile void is. I ended up writing about it, and it was like, okay, so it starts with my body, but beneath that, through my body, because I'm made of the same stuff as the mud, I actually have access to the planet Earth, and beneath that, I have access to my ancestors, all those people radiating out who created me, and I carry. They've proven it through science. I love it when science proves what spirit already knows. In our epigenetics, it's all written, woven around our DNA, all their trauma and their joy. So we've got access to all that wisdom, and we are part of this huge cosmos and the spirit eyes. And it's like, how much wisdom do I have access through this portal of my body? Why am I listening to you over there? But then if I've got access to all this, no wonder they don't want me listening to anybody other than them over there, because I'm a seriously powerful woman, and you are a seriously powerful woman if you are listening to yourself, and all that power that comes through your body is a portal. Yeah,
definitely. Oh, wow. So amazing. So I'm just being aware of time. Is there anything that you feel like you would like to share with the community of listeners?
What feels important? I think you named it. And I learned this early on in my coaching journey when we were doing coaching triads, and we didn't have Zoom in those days. It was a while ago that I trained, and we had coaching, and we worked on the phone. And when you work auditorily, you have to work slightly differently. You have to pause more. You have to not jump in because you can't see facial expressions, and you've got less to read. So myself and my coachee at that point, we decided the power lay in the pause. That actually, when there's a silence on the phone, somebody's processing. Just because you can't see anything, hear anything, doesn't mean to say nothing's happening. So if we can just repeatedly throughout the day give ourselves those pauses, check in with ourselves, where's that decision landing in my body? Is it landing in my feet? Is it landing in my gut? Does it make me fearful? Is it in my heart? Am I open-hearted? All those kind of things. If we can register that time and time again through the day instead of pushing on through and just ignoring it, I think we become seriously power-filled because we are trusting ourselves. We've got so much to access. That can happen even in a business meeting. Hang on, I just need to take a second. That ability to not answer immediately, that ability to not have to deliver instantaneously and to challenge that is really important.
That's actually brought up some other things. I think one thing that is brought up is reactivity. So we can be reactive. Something is triggered inside of us. We feel a need to jump in, defend ourselves, whatever it is, and then just that pause, knowing that we can pause,
and choosing to respond.
Very
powerful. It's a practice I'm really choosing to engage with now. I only catch it 3 times out of 4. I'll be banging the argument before I even notice it on a domestic front. I was not going to do this, but I'm much better now at going, I'm just going to step out and put the kettle on, control the facial expression, and go away and work out what that means for me.
Yeah.
Because it's my life, and the lesson, whatever they have or haven't done, the lesson is for me. And that's so to take that as a gift and be curious about it, and to take the time to work that out, or to literally put the boundary in and say, I need to just go and work with that. I'll be, give somebody a deadline if you like. I'll be back to you, at tea time tonight. But that desire or that training in me to react instantaneously because I feel triggered, or I feel defensive, or I feel this, or I feel that, or I feel I should even. Take your time.
Take your time, connect with, because it's interesting when we are reacting, we're not really operating from our truest self, are we?
No, I'm operating from a very hurt place at that. If I'm triggered, I'm in there as my 5-year-old going, but that's not fair, and I can hear myself. I'm like, I'm a professional. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yet in the domestic environment, it'll come out, and I'm like, this is great, especially after a long day of coaching other people with great grace. I can be. Can I swear on this?
Yeah, feel free.
I can turn into a bitch, if I've been coaching for 12 hours, I can turn into a bitch on the domestic front, and I'm really hyper conscious of it, but I can't always stop it if I'm tired, and actually I need to take my time.
Yeah, so important to do that. What was the other thing that it really brought to mind? What you said about the power of the pause, and how there is, in that pause, something is happening, some deep stuff is happening. And if we translate that to going back to the void, or this place of I don't know, and just recognizing that place is sacred in itself.
Oh, that's beautifully put. Absolutely. It's a sacred spirit, God, whatever you want to call it, don't mind, multidimensional place of I don't know, and potential magic. It's the liminal space. It's not comfortable, but it is full of sacred magic, and only we can gift it to ourselves. So maybe that's the important bit, is to really honor that.
So learning how to, and it's beautiful, really, because if we learn that power of the pause and we apply it to our everyday element, in the domestic front, in the business, the work front, whatever, and then we learn to take that everyday pause and then apply it to the big stuff, the not knowing what's my purpose, why am I here, why did I go through this, or whatever, just learning to be in that. How beautiful is that? And
thank you for that reframe, because it contradicts or contravenes my every belief up to this point in my life, and now I'm in this place of going, I don't know, and that's quite beautiful. All sorts of extraordinary opportunities are offering themselves up, and people, and then I'm encountering other clients who are going, I was working with somebody in Australia on yesterday morning. I'd got back from pilgrimage, and I was teaching them a shamanic technique. And the conversation we had before was, I don't know what I'm doing. I thought I knew what I was doing, and I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm like, it's all right, I've got you, because you're not the only one, and honor it, really enjoy it. If you need to sleep, if you need to nourish your body, if you need to just give yourself time and push away those other people's messages or that programming that's arising from the inside. Do it, so then we can give each other permission, and we can break this kind of self-perpetuating nonsense that we should all know exactly what we're doing all of the time. It's like, okay, her in there, she's in a liminal space at the moment, what does she need? You know what I mean? It's like, okay, so we can work with that. So I think there's a real beauty in the collaboration there as well, that we stop competing, that competitiveness, that, well, she knows what she's doing, and judging. I always find comparing my vulnerable, tender, raw inside with somebody else's professional outside does me so many favors, just leaves me feeling like, how does she know what she's doing and I don't? So actually, to be more open and vulnerable, and I think my intention on LinkedIn, and I didn't know this is what I was doing, was about de-shaming. It was like that it's really all right to not know, or to make a mistake, or to learn out externally in some ways, because I want to give people to be human. Yeah, absolutely. We need that so much. We need to be surrounded by other people that know that being human isn't about knowing. And I think that's definitely a space where I'm at the moment. I am kind of rebelling against this idea of hacking life, life hacks. Because it's, I don't even know what it is, whether it's shortcuts that we want, or secret knowledge and wisdom to kind of accelerate or quantum leap wherever it is that we want to quantum leap to, but we don't really know we're going to end up. And it's just, I think that again is just like distancing and disconnecting, isn't it? Just kind of. If we're connected to spirit, if we're connected to the earth, if we're connected to our bodies, if we're connected to our pasts and our futures, then it's a slower process. And we're impatient as humans, and we've been taught that, we watch other people fly, but actually, success doesn't come from nothing. It comes from, I know that this next piece of what will be, feels arrogant to say, but I'm gonna do it, of what will be incredible success with the divine feminine. It comes from 50 years worth of suffering. And it also comes from all the ancestors' wounds as well. It comes from a massive amount of work. And so there isn't such a thing as an overnight success. It's been sold to us as it's a myth. It's a complete myth. And
it keeps you in the grind.
It keeps us in the grind, and then wondering why we're not getting anywhere, instead of going, okay, so I've been through all of these things. I'm going to take a little bit of time, and I don't even know how long, to consolidate it and see what gold's really in there. And then I know what I'm taking forward, and I know why. Then you've got a thing. I mean, most of my coaching with people is slowing them down for 3 months in order that they can hear themselves. I put them through a process. They think they're moving forward, and they are, but actually it's holding them in a place so they can stop and reflect and celebrate. And then choose.
There's one thing that actually I do want to ask you that I've remembered now is alchemy. It's a word that I know that you use often. Can you talk a little bit about this in the context of what we've been talking about, becoming, return to self?
I think it probably goes back to shame for me again. That through coaching's called a practice, and I never knew why. It's because every day's new when you're coaching, isn't it? You learn something about yourself, let alone the other person. It is genuinely a practice. But through the last 12 years of coaching, especially, more and more of my life experiences that I might have been very ashamed about have proven to be the places of gold. So that's the alchemy. So the wounds of my childhood, or the addiction, or the suicide attempt, or the being locked up in a psychiatric unit, I just used to walk around going, don't tell anybody where you've been. And now I know that they are my gold, because they are they're integrated into my life. They're not a place of shame anymore. They are a place of wisdom. There's an article which I could share with you, and it's written by a shaman, and it's entitled "What I Saw When I Went to a Psychiatric Unit." And this is how I realized how shamanism was for me. That all those people who were locked up and medicated in psychiatric units, in tribal cultures, would have been the birth of the healers. But we medicate it away. Again, it's another shortcut. It's keep it away. So when I was in a great deal of pain, the authorities were medicating away, and I wanted them to. I wanted it to go, but actually I needed guiding through the process of rebirth. It would have been a very different experience had somebody said, there's a purpose to this. Here's some steps you can take. I'm with you. So that's the alchemy, is that in those dark spaces that we all go to in our variety of different ways, we all have dark nights of the soul, we all have trauma. That is where our gold lies if we do the healing work. And that is how we know what we're here in the world to do. And I guess the final bit to that is regarding the divine feminine, I was brought up the wrong way around. So, in inverted commas, my mum was the breadwinner. She was the head teacher. She was very elegant, but very in her doing masculine energy. My dad was the artist from Goldsmiths. He stayed home. He raised me. The humiliation of being raised in the 70s with a dad who had a man bag because he had all his artist materials didn't happen in the 70s. And my mum, who used to show up to the school gate in a bright yellow Triumph Spitfire soft top to collect me. Can you not do that, mum? So I was brought up the wrong way around, with my dad in the feminine energies and as the nurturer. So I genuinely got out into society believing that there was equality, and I also believed that people could live as they wished. And I walked out into this world that seemed to have very strict rules about what men and women did, and so I think I'm, in a weird kind of a way, that was my embarrassment. My shame is now my gold, because I want to bring that to the world.
Wow, thank you, Rebecca, so much. There's so much, that we've touched upon, and I really hope that people can extrapolate it to their own experiences, as well. But it's been such a blessing to speak with you, and hoping that, as I said, this will speak into other people as well. So thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you. It's been a real treat. And thank you for your insightful questions that have got me thinking about why I'm here and what I'm doing. So it's magic.
I really hope that you've enjoyed today's episode. If you want to connect with me and continue the conversation, then you can go to my website, becomingbeyonddeconstruction.com. And if you're interested in supporting the work, then please feel free to buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/livingfromsoul. My name is Florence Okwasogu, and I'll see you on the next episode of Becoming You Beyond Deconstruction.